To understand loops, we first have to backtrack to basic variables and basic code. And of course, you should know by now that code works on variables and does stuff with it. It manipulates the variables and produces answers that we're after. Now, on occasion, we might want to do multiple operations on a bunch of variables. So let's say I have an array of variables and there are 10, 100, 1,000 items in that array, and I want to perform functions on them. Well, we don't really want to call this function times 1,000 because one, we're repeating code, which we should avoid doing in any kind of coding, and two, it's just plain painful to write. And what if I add another variable? So I've got 1,001. Well, then I'll have to change my code to 1,001. And that's painful. So this is where loops start to come in. A loop, we can say something like, if we have our array of stuff, now it doesn't have to be an array, it can be anything that has multiple items in it. And what we can say in a loop is, at the start of the loop, I would like you to count that array. And then for each entry in the array, I would like you to perform the following function or code or whatever it is. And if we get to the end and we're not finished, then I want you to go back to the beginning and I want you to do it with the next element in the array. And this is going to go on and on and on and on until we reach the end of the array. And when we reach the end of the array, the loop will finish, and you can then move on to some other kind of function or method, however your program works. So that's all loops are. They go round and round until some kind of criteria is met. Now, as a beginner programmer, you're going to hit this error a lot. You're going to start a loop, so you'll have your start here, you'll have some kind of function in here, and you're going to have an end condition. Now, typically in a loop, I would start it with a variable called I, that's just a convention we have, equal to 0. And then inside of the loop, I would add 1 to I, something like I++. So every time we go round the loop, we add 1 to I. And then your end condition, you would say, I would like you to end when I is equal to something like 10. So this would go round 11 times because we always start at 0 because programming is 0 index based, and it would go round until we're equal to 10, so it would hit 11 times. That's by the by though. Now, where a lot of you are going to go wrong when you first start out is this I++ is going to be something that you forget. And you know what happens when you forget that? Well, the loop is just going to go round and round, and this I equals to 10 is never going to happen. I will always be equal to 0. So the loop is just going to keep going around and around forever, and you will be stuck in an infinite loop. And this is a very common problem, and you'll know it because your device will heat up like crazy because it's using 100% of its computing power, trying to do this loop as fast as it can, because that's how programs work. They use all the power they have. So always remember to check your exit condition will actually be fulfilled at some point.